Dr. Carol Francis. I am so glad you're here. This is the second day of course number 1, which is all about waking up that this has happened to you. And the effort of today is the following. It's dealing with the reality that you're no longer naive and you're no longer thinking that the world is all happy and roses and easygoing, that everything happens right and everything's good and people are all good. You no longer have the luxury of thinking that there's no such thing as evil or bad. You no longer have the luxury of that. Now, maybe you're already inclined to forgiving the other person. You don't really think they're all that wrong or bad. They just did horrible things. And maybe you're along that way in your path. But even then, you have to realize that no matter what level of forgiveness or forgetfulness you have had, you know that people do bad things, hurtful things, evil things, disgusting things to other people. Not all people do horrible things, but there are people out there that do them. And some of the people out there that do them enjoy doing it. Other people out there that do it are confused, completely confused, and they don't have a clue. Other people out there that do these horrible things had horrible things done to them, and they're just repeating a horrible cycle. Other people out there that do horrible things enjoy it, and they just do the gaslighting, the catfishing, the con artists, the narcissists that just somehow get some sort of delight or power or pleasure or gratification out of hurting others. And some individuals actually get lucrative over hurting others. They make money on the whole fiasco of hurting others and have no care whatsoever for the human beings that they harm. And other people feel that they're righteous in doing the harms to others. Other people are blinded by their rage or their background or their mental disorder, and they go out there and they randomly harm people. But now we're talking all about the abuser, the individual that enacted the trauma. And we are going to be very confused in trying to figure out all of their motives or reasons or why they did what they did. And it may be important for you to figure that out. That might actually help you. But then again, you may never get to know why. So then you have to wake up to the realization bad things do happen to good people. And you, being as good a person as you possibly could be, had some bad things happen to you. And you're not naive about that anymore. Once upon a time, some people were raised to say, if you do good, good things will come to you. And actually the science is true that we see statistically that optimistic people have better, more optimistic lives. Kind people tend to attract more kind people to themselves. Happy people tend to attract people who are happy. Good people tend to attract people who are good to them. There is a statistical studies about each of those, and that tends to be true, but that is not all of reality. That's just a probability. It's more likely to happen good if you're doing good, but there's no guarantee. So the realization is that there's no guarantee that just because you're a good person or a good enough person that you're going to be completely free of bad things happening to you. And another aspect of this is that if you were a good person and you were trying to rescue someone and you forgave them over and over again each time they abused you or traumatized you, you hoped that they learned and you hoped that they got their act together. You hoped it wouldn't happen again. You hoped, you believed, and you forgave. And each of those things were not warranted because the person did not earn that type of hope and that trust and that belief, that forgiveness. They didn't earn it. And what is part of the waking up process is recognizing I'm over and over and over again reinserting myself in these bad situations. I am inserting myself in these bad situations. And for repeat situations, I've inserted myself again. And there I did it again. And wow, I went along with it again. And it's like you kind of have to, at one point, when you have escaped the abuse and trauma, you have to stop and say, I am done. I am not going to re-engage. I am not going to step into that situation again. I'm not going to try to fix it again. I'm done. I'm going to move on with life because this individual is completely consuming and destroying mine. Or this traumatic situation that I'm trying to go in there and clean up is only continuing because of the people who are having the dominant influence or however individuals are going. And by the time you say, I'm waking up, which is what this course 1 is all about, I'm waking up to the realization that I've been walking in this over and over again for maybe all the good right reasons or maybe all the naive reasons, but I'm no longer going to be naive. I'm not going to be savvy. Now notice I just fold my arms, because there is a way in which there's a part of you that puts up a wall and says, I'm done. I'm done. The wall goes down. I am not going to keep re-triggering that situation again. I'm done. Now, people say, oh my gosh, you put the wall up, up or down. You put the wall between you and whatever, and now you walled yourself off. And as you recover, you'll realize you'll know how to live without that wall, but you'll no longer be naive. Or you'll know how to live without that wall causing you to not live life fully, but you will not just step into situations blindly or with blind trust or with naivety. And as soon as you're really waking up, it's woken up, as soon as you've really woken up, you'll begin to say, wow, look how I stepped into it. And it will be a kind of a shocker to say, look how I stepped into it. Because it will feel a little bit like you're blaming yourself, but you're really not blaming as much as you're coming to terms with how you now no longer have to walk in there again. And that's very freeing. That's empowering. But it does require you to wake up to how you walked into it. Now, my book, Paths to Recovery After Abuse and Trauma, you waking up to this, how did I ever get in that mess, never lets the abuser or the traumatizer off the hook. They did the wrong they did, and that's not going to be erased. But you knowing how you tripped in there, or accidentally walked in there, or blindly went in there, or maybe overconfidently walked in the situation, or whatever, what did it take for you to walk in there? One of which maybe is that you were totally naive, or that they were really good manipulators and con artists, or that it didn't start off that way, but it certainly progressed that way. Whatever way you walked into it, you want to take a really good stock as to how you got there. And that's part of this process. You're no longer naive, you're savvy, you're not just giving away trust. You do have your wall up against walking into another situation like that, because you are honoring and respecting yourself, and because you can see what's inside there to the best of your ability, and it doesn't look good, doesn't smell good, doesn't seem good, doesn't feel good, doesn't logically seem good. So you put a wall up. I'm not walking in there. I don't care what the magnetism is, or what the draw is, or what the compelling reasons are. I will not harm myself again by walking in that situation. And notice that I said harm myself. Because once you become savvy, if you walk back in there, yes, they may still do the abuse and the traumatized, and they're still responsible for that, but you're the one that's walked in there, maybe yet again. It's not without an accident that women who are leaving domestic violence situations where they have been sexually, physically, psychologically abused by a spouse actually return on average 7 times before they stop returning. It's a lot of times. It's a lot of abuse. It's a lot of hope. It's a lot of trust. It's a lot of forgiveness. And we'll talk about the dangers of forgiving. And then when you wake up and you finally say, what am I doing? Let's never do that again. And so that's today's information. To never do that again. And then you have to know what you did. What did you do? And therefore, what can you do differently? What are the signs that you could have paid attention to that now you know, but you didn't know then? Or even if you did know the signs, why did you not listen? And that's also a great question. I knew the signs, but why did I not listen to the signs that were there? What other compelling thing was I listening to? Was I listening to that I didn't think I could be loved by anybody and this was better than nothing? Did I listen to the inside of me that just felt, well, I can handle it, I'm strong, never realizing the power of an abuser who has no ethics and no limits and no compunction to limit themselves. So therefore, you being able to handle it just meant that they could dish out more. Or did you walk into it feeling like you were the rescuer? You were the one that was going to take care of it. You're going to fix it. You're going to make it better. You're going to enlighten everyone. You're going to wake everyone up. You're going to be the change agent. Great motivation. But in those situations where they don't want to be changed and where they are attached to being traumatizers or abusers, you going in there and trying to change them, they don't want to change. And even if they do want to change, in part, they're the ones that have to walk out of the situation and reach into you or others to get the help so that they can change. So you want to ask yourself, again, the first question, how did I get there? Second question, if you got there again, why did I go back? Third question is, what are the signs so that I can see this sort of process going on in the future so I can know, ooh, that situation reminds me too much of the former. Now, that last one is really helpful because you want to be able to know the signs so that you can differentiate those people who are wonderful human beings, but they're not perfect, from those people who are not acting like wonderful human beings, whether they might be or not down the future. They don't act like wonderful human beings, except for they might put on an act initially, the old-fashioned wolf and sheep clothing sort of things, the manipulators, the con artists, the gaslighters, the catfishers, the manipulators, the narcissists. They can rope you in and look wonderful, and then just, how do they do that? And what did you fall for? And you want to know those signs so that when you meet really nice people who are not perfect, you won't take the imperfection parts as, uh-oh, red flags, red flags. There might be yellow flags. They might even be red flags, but you want to be able to differentiate red flags that are like the actual abusive situation and yellow flags that are like, this is complicated, this is hard, but not abusive. So that's an important step in being able to wake up, is to differentiate. So the way you start doing that is today you ask yourself, how did I get here? Why did I go back? What were the signs? What inside of me, not them, compelled me to go there, even if I might have known better? And those are really powerful questions to ask yourself that get you to know who you are. So that's the class for today. And what you'll notice is in that, the writing section of this, you'll again be asked questions about the course. Then you'll be asked to do self-reflection. You'll say the self-reflection out loud, answering some of these questions, and then you will write down your answers so that you have it both in auditory form, in your brain and in your mind and in your heart, and you'll also have it in writing so you can refer to it. I always recommend keeping a journal if you can of whatever form that's completely private and confidential. Then after that, you'll do the 2 meditations you did yesterday and in class number 1, and then you'll also do 2 new meditations in this one. And this one's going to be first about learning how to soothe yourself, because learning how to remember how to soothe yourself is very important, and also a muscle progressive relaxation. I'll just introduce you to progressive relaxation. It's a very helpful tool. I just want you to walk into that helpful tool gently. So this is a very gentle, quick muscle relaxation or progressive relaxation meditation. And then you can listen to the bonus options once again to see who has survived and how they did it and what their stories are, or whatever professionals are there. That bonus section is there for you to just pick and choose what you want to listen to today as you do your walk or clean your dishes or drive your car. You want to be able to just make the consciousness that, you're not alone. You walked into this situation, or you were dragged into this situation, or you manipulated into the situation, or it just happened by accident, and you're not alone, because 75% of the human race has done precisely the same thing. It's a lot of us, right? And so you're not alone, and that's important to know. And the second thing about that is that you're also not alone in trying to figure out how to make yourself a better person as you recover, as you move yourself out of this experience and into creating someone that's just an amazing, amazing person who's no longer naive, but is now savvy. Well, I'm Dr. Carol Francis. Thanks for joining, and look at all the materials provided for you, and I'll see you tomorrow.